Welcome back. We're going to be painting shadows in this class. And of course that also means something to be casting the shadows. This time I've chosen flowers. So they're inside with a nice controlled color environment. And we can paint the shadows being cast on the wall and talk about what to look for when you're painting shadows in general. Let's get to it. Okay, we're ready to get started with a tutorial on painting shadows. As a very basic overview, there are three kinds of objects that can be struck by light. You have opaque objects, transparent objects, and translucent objects. Opaque objects are solid, so they don't let any color through. Transparent objects are clear, like glass, and you can see through them clearly, and they let the color straight through. And translucent is right in between those two. So it's going to let some light through, but it's not going to be as clear as transparent things. And then really quickly think about what causes the color of the shadow that you're painting. The complement of the color of the light that is casting the shadow is the shadow color. So for instance, if I have yellow light being shown on an object, the shadow is going to be violet, because violet is the complement of yellow. They're across from each other on the color wheel. If I had a red light being shown on an object, the shadow would turn out green. If I had a blue light, the shadow would be orange, or an orange light, the shadow would be blue. But it gets a little bit tricky when you are talking about light being shown on transparent and translucent objects, because the light will tend to scatter and bounce through and bounce back. So if you examine today's reference and you look closely at the shadows being cast through the bottles here, you can see that there are highlights and there's a little tinge of orange being cast down probably from the flowers themselves, and it changes direction because there are obviously multiple light sources here. So you have 1, 2, 3 shadows. Here on the wall there's only one shadow, and you'll notice that it is indeed violet, and you can tell from the color of the wall behind, which is yellow, that this is indeed a yellow light source. And then there's one last element of shadows that I wanted to teach you, and that is the umbra and penumbra of the shadow. So let's say that I have a white piece of paper and a pencil casting a shadow over it. The umbra is the dark region right behind. Then you can see how the outside edges get lighter and kind of fuzzy and soft. That is called the penumbra of the shadow. I can change the penumbra and the umbra by moving the light source up and down, closer and farther from the screen that the shadow is being cast on. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get started here. I have simplified my reference down to only 2 bottles and 4 flowers and tightened up the composition a little bit. Then I've protected the color of the flowers themselves so I can paint straight over them, and the highlights on the bottles. I've taped off everything and we can start laying in that background. So, clean water, 1 inch flat. Make sure that your drawings are dark enough that they don't get completely washed away. Then I'm mixing up the yellow that I need, and I always check my color before I put it down. That's good. So this is kind of a yellow with a little bit of rose color mixed in. And I need to go dark enough that when it dries it won't completely fade away to nothing. And I like the corners to have something else going on. Just drop in a little bit of pink in some of those places and let that mix together. It's more interesting. Then down here it goes a lot more blue, so let's mix up a blue and color test that as well. This color is showing up in the bottle, and so I'll just go straight over the top like this, and it's going to blend into these shadows that are going to become a lot harder. And then I have a window pane that comes straight up like this, and it has the blue and it also has a little bit of red on the edge, so I'll just paint it the way that I see it with some blue and then the red around the penumbra of the shadow of this window pane. So the center is darker and then the edges soften out. And then down here the tabletop is a little bit different shade of kind of a violet gray with some yellows mixed in, so we'll just slap something down here, get it mixing on the page, keep it interesting.